All right. So you wanted me to remind you, old school typewriter versus work versus spoken word.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been thinking about, I don't know if this is exactly what I mean, but for lack of a better phrase, I'm going to just talk about like stream of consciousness writing. And I mean, or this could even apply to writing the rough draft of a story. But I guess when I originally was pondering this, it was stream of consciousness I was thinking of. I'm not sure if it would be preferable to handwrite this stuff, to type it out on an old school typewriter where, you have to kind of leave the mistakes in order to get any sort of speed, or if taking the time in like a word processor is the way, or if just dictating into an audio app now and having it transcribed is the best. So like, I guess I wanted to talk about that a little bit and get your thoughts on what could work for like, yeah, anything from stream of consciousness writing to like the first rough draft of a story, maybe. Like, I mean, I have been just sitting down basically in front of like Google Docs and just typing, I have been doing that. But that lends it, like I do get stuck sometimes in like the deleting and the rearranging and stuff. Like I try not to get carried away, but just because it's like, it's a word processor, I know how to do that stuff and you just sort of like do it, right? But then I was thinking like your old school typewriter got me thinking about that if I had an old school typewriter, you feel like you're doing something because it's a little more mechanical and you can't easily fix the mistakes. So you would just kind of plow through. And I was wondering if that would be productive for me. And then that kind of led to, well, there's also handwriting. And then, of course, there's always voice dictating, which we touched on the other day because we could just transcribe it. So I don't know if I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing or play around with some of that. I don't know. I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. Any more thoughts on that, or you're just kind of wondering? You're just kind of
I was just looking for your thoughts. I guess like
are you looking for something like the way you're doing it now? Does it feel inefficient? And you would like to find a way of being more efficient? Is that how it is, or is the way you're doing it now like not working?
I would phrase it more lightly. No, what I'm doing is working. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't call it inefficient either, but that doesn't mean you're not open to more efficient, mm-hmm. right? Like, mm-hmm. and so I guess it's that, and like. When we were talking, I forget the exact conversation you and I were having, but it was within the last week or so. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the transcribing that Resolve does, and it just struck me like, I mean, I've got Whisper. I don't know how to use it yet, but I've got Whisper on the Mac, which is mm-hmm. similar. Like I don't think it's as good as yours, but it's similar.
Yeah.
And like, I could talk this stuff out.
Yeah.
Get it transcribed. Have ChatGPT rewrite it based on the transcription, and then I rewrite based on ChatGPT.
Right, yeah. But you're still looking at multiple rewrites.
Yes, but...
Which is the correct approach.
Right. But my initial word vomit would be a lot faster.
Yeah.
Dictating compared to sitting down with Google Docs and typing it out. Right?
Yeah.
And then from there, like from that point forward, it's a little more work in as far as like all the iterations, especially that final rewrite I do, but we would end up with something pretty good.
Yeah.
For a rough draft.
Yeah. My favorite quote is from Anne Lamott in her book Bird by Bird, and that is just write your shittiest ever first draft.
Yeah.
Your first draft should be so shitty it will embarrass you to share it.
But that would be the dictated version, I think.
Well, it depends. Now, the problem with the dictated version, there's two problems that I experience. You might be different. Number one is it's kind of tough to not get tripped up. Like you get tripped up in your own words because the words are coming out so fast that you forget where you are.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, if we were having a conversation now and I was dictating to you my life story, that would be different because now I have an audience.
Yeah.
But if you take away the audience and I'm talking through my life story, what a fucking mess. The other thing is that you've got all of your ums and ahs and your half-baked sentences and your false start sentences and your half-complete sentences.
That's why ChatGPT would have to write it based on the transcript.
It would, and then you'd have sort of a mush sanitized script that then you would have to make yours again.
Yeah.
And so the question is I don't know, that's a really good question. I mean, guys like Van Neistat, he does his initial work on an old school typewriter. He types his entire script out pages and pages. Then he goes through it, marks it up, rewrites it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the approaches I was thinking of taking too.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you're looking at roughly the same amount of time to get to that final product. The question is what do you enjoy more? What do you have access to? All of those different factors, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've written half of your rough draft now with Google Docs, I would totally stay with that.
Yeah, I'm tempted to finish this one.
Yeah.
Because I have to admit, like, when you sit there typing it out, your first pass through, that process is slow enough and deliberate enough that things actually come to you during the process.
Correct.
And that might not happen if I'm just sitting there with my mouth.
It won't. It's like you get over top of your skis, right? That's that saying. And then all of a sudden now, oh man, like I'm wiping out now. And and you tend to do that over and over again, and that gets more and more frustrating. Whereas when you're like, for me now, I use Obsidian, and when I'm typing, I type roughly anywhere from 30 to 40, 45 words a minute-ish. And that's enough that my fingers are able to keep up with my thoughts. And I can go for an hour. Like I can do 1,000 words without coming up for air.
Wow.
But that's also practice.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what part of the process you enjoy most and whatever gets you to the end.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong way. I would try different things, but I would stick with what you're doing right now, because if you're 4 chapters out of 8, you're half done. I wouldn't want to mess with that.
Yeah, I think you're right, but that doesn't mean that I can't try other things for other podcasts.
Absolutely. Which is what I'm doing technically. I'm messing around now with the spoken word stuff.
Yeah.
The 2 things that I wanted to talk about though today, or this episode, is limited series versus scheduled ongoing episodic podcasts. Yeah. But the thing that came across to me now is, so the people who are producing ongoing episodic podcasts, most of them are doing it for the money.
Yeah.
They might be passionate about what they're talking about or about their guests, and that's fine, but that's their income.
Yeah.
And if they stop, then the money stops.
Yeah.
So they have to keep going. And I heard a couple of the hosts that I listened to on a fairly regular basis they were talking to their guests at the end, and the guests were recommending another 2 people that they could have on their show. And you could tell by the nature of the conversation that they had been talking about that before they started recording.
Right.
And this is the thing now, is that I imagine that the host would have said, like, yeah, is there anybody you think we should talk to? Because they've got to fill up that calendar.
Yeah.
And that makes them then compromise themselves on the quality of the guest or the nature of the topic they're going to,
In so many ways. Like even if you're somehow miraculously not sacrificing the quality of the guest or the interest level, just having to do it every week means you're showing up at times where you don't really fucking want to.
Yep.
And that doesn't lead to top-notch product.
Right.
So it's insidious. It's in more than one ways that would be destructive.
Right. So that being said, then I much more gravitate towards the limited series runs, and thinking that it's along the lines of writing a book, as opposed to writing a blog or a weekly newspaper column in the old days when you used to do that.
Yeah.
You'd write a book. You'd be gone for 2 or 3 years. You'd research, write, edit, blah, 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 publish your book. Then you'd come out, then you'd do a book tour.
Yeah.
Right? You'd make your money, or maybe if you got in advance, you've already spent your money, whatever the case is. But your money would come in chunks.
Yeah.
Based on how prolific you were with these larger form projects. And I think it would be the same with limited series podcasts. Like if you were to sell it to one of the networks or one of the companies, or license it to a broadcaster, you would get your money, and then you would start working on the next one. But you wouldn't feel the pressure of having to show up every week with something new. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm with you on all this 100%.
Okay. All right. And then the next thing I wanted to discuss was, this is kind of a little bit of an ethereal kind of a topic. It's kind of even hard to describe. I'll just read what my note was. How quickly do you realize you're in the middle of an inner story from someone else, listening to someone?
Yeah.
And then the next question is how quickly can you get into the driver's seat where you're then not manipulating or not directing the inner story, but you're observing it, and you're kind of like you would then be able to ask the next question based on the fact that you know you've got an inner story by the tail.
This is a good question, but it might be 6 months before I can really answer it, because I don't think I've had much of an opportunity to get there with anybody yet. Like,
you haven't, but let me stop you right there. Naturally, how does this function for you? Historically, how does it function? Has it functioned?
It's like peeling an onion, right? Like people tend to explain things to you in physical terms. This happened. I did this. I saw this, right? Like they're describing the physical reality of the situation, and they're describing events in an order. And then you've kind of got to start picking at what they were thinking, or how they were feeling, or what brought them there, or what caused them to make such a decision. And then, like, when you get your answer, you probe further. You're like, well, what made you feel like that? Do you feel like that often?
So then you would be like immediate. It would be immediate for you.
Yeah, that's the stuff I'm naturally interested in that.
Well, that's fantastic. And I mean, with the Josh project now, you know what I mean? Like
I haven't had a chance to really even peel that first layer of the onion back with him.
Okay.
Just because he is such a talker, number one, and he's a storyteller in his own right. Like he communicates by story.
Okay.
So it's like you ask him a question, you're going to get a story back that may or may not be related.
Okay.
And he's very much like his own theories of everything aside, which he'll always put in there. He is very much a events describer.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, I've got to peel that onion back, but I'm
going to write that down. That's a great.
I'm setting up some structure to his larger story first, and then I'm going to dive in. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be great, even when I do prod him that way, but I'm just not there yet. I should say, too, like, the way you phrase the question sort of presupposes that we know what the story is before we even pry into the inner world of it. And I have a feeling that you're going to start thinking the story is A, B, and C, but then once you get into the inner worlds, like what caused him to make those decisions, or what was he feeling at the time, I have a feeling that new information is going to change the story entirely.
I guess it depends whether you've got somebody that you're lining up to do a story on, or if you're just doing like random, like you're just doing randos. Like if you had the microphone and you were, for instance, now in a diner at 11 o'clock at night, right? And you get somebody who wants to talk with you. Like how fast would you recognize if they were like revealing something hidden, right? Like that's the question now. And would you know what to do with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I definitely need to. I'll pay more attention to that. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know yet.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I think that you've got the tools. You've got the raw. You've got your like the way your brain is set up. You're more than qualified to do that.
I agree with that part. It's just a matter of honing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, it is interesting. Like, you need to talk to somebody about something to even, like, pry into their inner worlds. There has to be a story first that they want to share, no matter how trivial. There has to be some sort of, this series of events happened, or I was involved, or I saw this. Like, there has to be some sort of physical world story, I think, in order to set up the stage for somebody to reveal their inner world. So, I mean, in a vacuum, do you think that's wrong? Or inaccurate?
What do you mean by in a vacuum?
Like without considering anything else, or I was going somewhere else, but without even considering that. Like, just generally speaking, do you think you can get somebody to open up about their inner world without starting with a physical reality-based story?
100%.
What would that look like?
Well, that's the question now. Yeah, that's what I feel like I'm not qualified to answer, because it would go over my head.
I mean, the only version I can see, and this would be very difficult, the only version I could see of it working is if you sat down with somebody and you said to them, what were you thinking about 10 seconds ago? And they were brutally honest. that could work, but that doesn't happen. We're conditioned. We're socially conditioned not to do that.
Well, I think it could also happen if you were to sit down with somebody, let's say you prearranged an interview and you sat down with somebody and you knew you were going to talk to them about X, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they start into the story, and then they all of a sudden go somewhere where you didn't expect. Like they dove deep on you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do then? Do you go back to your script, your list of questions, or do you follow them down into the depths? And
yes, I'd follow them. I'd have too many questions, and I would just follow those questions.
Okay.
Like if you came to me and you said, I've been a roadie for the past 30 years for AC/DC.
Yeah.
Right. There's a bazillion questions I think most people would maybe have about that.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want to know is if he spends a lot of time in hotel rooms, and if you do, what do you think about it at night? Because at some point, I'm a roadie for AC/DC loses its fucking luster to you.
Yeah.
Right. And you're just sitting in a hotel room, a new hotel room every night in some town by yourself waiting. Like,
Yeah.
you would have to have some sort of regular kind of thought process or script that plays in your mind or something that your thoughts dwell on. Like I'd like to pry into that. Like that's just naturally where my head goes when I hear about somebody that does that job. I'm like, okay, well, this job you're describing is unique, so that means there would be unique circumstances to it, which leads me to the hotel room thing. What do you do? Like, what do you do in there? And their answer to that I would have just as I'd fork off from there into similar questions. Like that's the curiosity. That's the curiosity I have. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Like you're feeling the entire time. I think you're feeling around, looking for the next string to tug at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to in the next 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
I'd like to see you in a position where you're interviewing more people, like not just doing the phoners, but like actual.
Yeah, I'd like to too.
Might even be kind of fun to set you up in a food court somewhere with a sign.
Yeah.
Tell me the thing you haven't told anyone else or whatever.
That's a good idea.
See if anybody comes by and sits down, right? Because, it's in a food court. So now you're in a public place. You're probably with people you know. And now you're going to tell a stranger with a microphone something you never told anybody? Good luck.
That's a good idea. Yeah, or something similar to that anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even just with the Josh project, I'm maybe a week or two away from having calls where I finally try to peel at the onion a bit. So you'll have at least something to listen to with that.
Well, to me, that's really exciting. I'm so happy for you to have that right now to kind of experiment with, especially while you're writing your own story to turn into a podcast. Because just the options are like, it's endless. It's limitless. I'm working on that other podcast that I mentioned about a friend of mine that I recorded 2-3 years ago now.
Yeah.
I have 29 hours of audio conversations, and I'm just starting to go through it now and just drop markers in where I think that something might be worthwhile. And it's surprising at the ratio of garbage to gemstones.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of garbage. And you end up getting sucked into a story, and then you realize at the end, I can't use that. That's just anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I had for today.
Yeah, I'm just tired. It's been a hell of a week.
Yeah.
I'm a little worn down.
Well, I mean, we're all getting a lot done these days, and it's important not to lose sight of the accomplishments. That's the reason that we're all tired, is because we're accomplishing a lot. There was a lot of months there where there was very little movement.
Yeah, that's true. And I this is kind of tangential, but the past week, like with my knee injury this past week and just trying to like heal that, I'm really surprised how off, like I was in a rhythm for the weeks leading up to that. I was in a rhythm as far as like my writing, my guitar playing, my other life stuff. Like I was
the gym stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just in a nice rhythm, and how disruptive that was.
Yeah.
And it was only a week. It was only a week that I like had to seriously alter what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I had to seriously alter the things I was physically doing for a week. I had to drug myself to sleep a number of consecutive nights.
Yeah.
And just the toll it took. Like today was the first day where I was really trying to get my old rhythm back. And I'm fucking wiped out. Like I'm wiped out. But I'm hoping that tomorrow, and I'm sure it's true, tomorrow I'll wake up a little better and things will like, I'll fall back into that rhythm. But you fall out of that rhythm and your productivity just like ceases. You're treading water just to keep the things that you need to have done. Like whereas before I was getting all my life stuff done by noon.
Yeah.
And like have the rest of the day to like, you know, go to work and work on my own projects.
Yep.
But you get one little injury that kind of puts you back on your heels for a week and makes you like start taking some drugs to deal with the pain and all that. And before you know it, you're totally out of rhythm and not doing anything productive and just trying to survive.
Yeah. But that's okay though. I mean, you have to be able to give yourself those permissions, right?
Yeah, but you have to be able to get yourself back on track.
Yep.
Too.
Yep.
And I can see where some people could just fall off and never.
Yep. Never come back. Yeah.
And I'm sure
for
in the past I have.
Mm.
I'm positive of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a sadness with that. Like when you're really on a roll, when things are really working and you're just in your groove and you've got your rhythm and your schedule worked out and you're just doing it day after day, you're doing the grind, it starts to feel like a train. And you're through the hard part. You got the train moving. It's just a matter of not fucking stopping it.
Yep.
And letting it roll.
Yeah.
But when something else stops it, you're like, fuck, I got to start this train
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah. 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 It's more like a flywheel almost. You know what I mean? Like it's so much effort to get the flywheel turning.
Yeah.
You know, but then once it is, you can just, oh, okay, yeah, I can relax a little bit because it's still going. Not too much. But then if it stops, oh no.
Yeah.
You got to get going all over again. Yeah. Yeah, that's the struggle is real.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit like, I think it's a bit like trying to do tricks on a skateboard, you know? You're going to fall a lot in the next year until you kind of sort of master this kind of stuff. And so
And you
I think
probably twist your ankle at some point and not be able to skateboard for a
That's
week.
right. That's right. Yeah, that's where I was going with this. And I think it's like if you factor that in, like, okay, this is normal. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
You know, nobody gets that train rolling and then just keeps on rolling to the destination. Like I don't know
it's
of
true.
that. Yeah.
It's true. And like to use the skateboard analogy, like the thing you have to do, and that's another thing about this injury, is it forced me to revisit some basics, some things that I was doing a year ago, because you're kind of back there.
Right.
And like what you have to do is you can't say, okay, my goal is to learn these 5 tricks. You can't set that as your goal, even though it is. You've kind of got to say, okay, for today to be a success, I'm going to practice skateboarding for 20 minutes, or I am going to do what I need to do to have an injury heal. It's going to be one of those 2 things every fucking day.
Yeah.
And that will get you to where you want to go. But your goal has to be the process.
Yeah, that's right.
It
Exactly.
has to be. And it has to be, your process has to be versatile enough to allow for the life shit that will happen.
That's right.
Because if it doesn't do that, if I say like, well, I'm going to write 1 page every day, but then I don't allow for what happens if I can't, something will happen that means I can't, and then I'm derailed and I failed.
But you've got 4 frickin' chapters done, man. Okay. Little pat on the back is good.
Yeah, it's wild. And like it is the halfway point for the rough drafts, but I was thinking the other day, it's actually more than that. Because before I started the rough drafts, I had to do the skeleton for the whole story.
Right, your outline,
outlines. And that phase took weeks.
Yeah.
So
well, the other thing too is that because you're you're in the flow now, like you kind of, you know what I mean? Like you said, the last 4 will go much faster than the first 4. I totally agree with you on that, by the way. So and then once that draft is done, man, we can start, like, it's going to be pure play. You know, now you can start experimenting with format and with you know, just the act of telling that story. Now you've got, you know, all the basics.
And when you were originally talking about the process that we're going to do once the rough draft is done, what I kind of heard was that you're basically going to read it, record all the questions you have along the way, and then we'll basically have to fucking rewrite the thing based on that.
Well, not rewrite it.
Well, yeah, that's how I heard it.
You'll have to fill in the gaps.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
When I first heard that, it was kind of deflating because I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to end up writing this thing a second time. But I thought about it, and now I'm like actually excited about that process because I think it is absolutely correct.
Yeah, it's actually not as scary as you think. It's actually kind of fun, right? Because it'll feel rewarding because you'll go plug in those things that you didn't realize you'd missed.
Yeah.
Because it's in the back of your head. You didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Right? When you did your first draft, it's all there. It's just not all on paper.
Yeah.
Right. But for somebody who didn't live that,
right.
Well, they only have what's on the paper, so there's going to be missing.
Yeah, and I know I'm struggling with that already because I have the context for everything.
That's right, exactly. And that will be my job, is to make sure that I understand the context and whatever a listener would be wondering about, or that didn't make any sense. What happened there? Yeah. So we'll just fill in those little bits.
And I have the other problem too. When I'm writing rough drafts at places, I make assumptions that people are going to ask this, or people are going to want to know this, or they're going to need context for this. So I just fucking give it.
That's right.
And then sometimes ChatGPT tells me, "Why'd you do that?"
That's right.
Let them figure it.
That's right. Absolutely. Or don't reveal so much.
Yeah, like I tend to over-explain. But I over-explain, and I've kind of talked about this before. I over-explain because I don't like the way, like when people find out the way my mind works, I don't like the image that gives them without the context of why. And I want to get to the point where I don't even explain to the end. Yeah. And even then, it's just my fucking theory.
Yeah. Like, or just let it hang there. Let the audience make of it what they will. Right. Like that's. Yeah. You give
that's what I got. That's the tolerate uncertainty. Like I have to.
Correct, but there's like it's a wide line. It's not a narrow line. It's a wide line where between giving enough information that the audience will be able to put it together themselves, and not quite enough information, so then they can't. Right, like that. Like you want to make sure you're on the right side of that line where you've given enough information but not over-explained anything. That's the key. It was a heck of a week in many ways. Yeah, we're in the weeds now, but in a good way. Like we're doing the work now. We're in the grind.
Yeah, yeah. And to that, I'll say I'm glad I got the win this week of finishing the 4th chapter, because outside of that, I wasn't very productive dealing with everything I had to deal with. Yeah, I'm back at it now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.